Alrighty, so I'm back with more of these things, spinners. So we've already gone through and I've shown you this. All right, we have a basic one. I showed you a Batman logo, and I've also said I was going to move on and show you some other ones, right? So we did something with a mirror where we just drew half, extruded it, and then we mirrored it, and then we had our spinner. And then we've done this where we've done a simple pattern here. Now I'm going to show you a new method to get a tri-spinner that involves more rectangles, okay? So let's go in here and I'm going to share my screen. All right, and we're going to go ahead and open up Autodesk Inventor. No, Autodesk Inventor. And I'm going to start off with a 2D sketch on the XY plane and make sure that we always start at the origin here. All right, now let's take a trip down memory lane here and remember that the outside diameter of our standard skateboard bearing, our 608ZZ bearing that you can find anywhere on Amazon or any skateboard shop, is going to be a diameter of 22 millimeters. All right, so I don't want to round anything until the end. All right, so I'm going to fillet everything at the end. So what does that mean? Well, I'm going to grab myself a center point rectangle, and I'm going to set my center point rectangle here. And if I have 22 millimeters, okay, that is going to be what I want to start with, but that's going to just be the circle. So what happens if I add to that 0.1? Tab 22 millimeters plus 0.1. Okay. And that gives me a 100 thousandths buffer around what I want. And I am going to go ahead and make one arm of this. All right. The next thing that I'm going to want to do is from this center point here is now that I have this rectangle, I'm going to do the same thing. All right. But how tall do I want this? All right. So here's my width. And again, I want this 22 millimeters plus 0.1. And I'm going to go over to my height. Now, this height is the overall height. So this is going to represent the outside diameter. So I'm going to make this a larger one here. And I'm going to make this, let's just make this a 2-inch radius. Well, if you remember from my first video, if you watched the first video on the basic spinner, which is what I would recommend sort of as the outer limit for most people doing this, all right, to fit comfortably in your hand. So I'm going to go ahead and make this 4 inches. All right, so you can see now, I'm going to hit escape. I have started this where I have my safe zone squared off here, and I also have this right here, which is going to represent that outside edge. All right, and the reason I'm squaring this stuff off is because the picture I'm going to bring in is going to be square. And guess what I'm doing? A kitty. We're going to say it's a kitty cat. Some of you might recognize this, but I tried to make it so it's not overtly obvious Hello Kitty, but let's see if this works. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to pop an image in here. And where did I put this stuff? I put it somewhere. What is this? Like libraries and pictures and all images here. Oh, look at that. So this is the image that I found. Whoa, it's very, very large. Escape. This has got to be much, much smaller. Now that we are closer to the scope here, I can kind of zoom in, and I'm actually going to give myself a kitty, a Hello Kitty, tri-spinner. And full disclosure here, I haven't actually done this before. And so what I'm really looking for here is this upper limit. All right, and now with this one, I can actually place, I know safely, at least 4, 5, or 6 of these if I want. Now, if I want to make this larger, I can. All right, I can always make this larger. But the larger I go here, the transition to my safe area here is going to change. I'm also going to have a little bit of an issue with lining this up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to line this up with the ears on the top corner. And you can see how this image is slightly tilted. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just keep tilting this, and I'm going to make sure that the ears fit exactly like that. All right, pretty cool, right? And like I said, believe it or not, this is the first time I'm doing this one. I'm going to hit escape, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make all of this stuff here. Well, I'm going to make all this stuff here construction lines. And now what I can do is I'm going to go ahead in here and I am going to give myself, now I have this little central axis here. I have to figure out how I want to attach this so it still kind of looks like something, right? So I want this to be thinner. And if you recall, I kind of like to use that 100 or 200 thousandths difference. And if this needs to be my safe zone, I just need to connect something that is about 200 thousandths wide. So if I go over here and I make this, let's say I want this to connect here, point 2 tab, and now I've kind of locked that in, that 0.2, and I want this to kind of connect in here like that. Let me go ahead and hit escape. So now you can see I actually start off with this arm here that I want. All right, and that'll give me exactly what I need to connect to. And again, if I want to do all of this here, I can then come in here and make all of these construction lines again. But I'm not going to make them construction lines yet, because I'm actually going to build off of here and see if it'll let me trim, which it might or it might not, come to think of it. But it's okay. I'm going to go ahead and start tracing this out. And I'm going to come back when I'm done extruding, and I'm going to share this sketch to actually make this shape here with this bow. So I'm going to go ahead and add extra material in the bow and these little lines here as well when I'm done to kind of make this look nice. So let's just start off here with my spline. And I'm going to start off by zooming in. And there's a lot of stuff for this to connect to. And again, I'm just using a picture here, but obviously this is simple enough geometry that you could actually use an ellipse, right? This is an ellipse, not an oval. NASCAR races on an oval, they have straightaways. So you can actually use an ellipse tool to generate this head, and then you can use all those simpler tools to make this work, and then use like a little triangle or something here. Losing control of my zoom here. My laptop is not happy with all of these files open and all of the zooming that I'm doing in and out here. And as you can see, I'm going to kind of follow this. And some areas are harder than others. And now, since this shape is going to be repeated multiple times, I'm not really as concerned about how even this is. All right. And again, you can see the this little menu gets in my way, and the side of that ear is probably going to be there. Like I said, that's not going to matter as much because I'm going to come back and add that bow in on top. And again, this is just with a few minutes of searching Google for ideas. All right, and that's where I came up with this thing, in case you're wondering. And so here we go. I think this is going to come out really neat. And I am not necessarily doing the neatest job possible, mainly because I just want to get you the idea. And again, the cleaner you do this, and now we have closed geometry here. All right, that's good. Let me create. So now I have a nice closed shape, which you can tell that works. So that's brilliant. And as you start connecting other geometries in here, sometimes we run into the issue where this isn't really going to work out for us. But let's just try this. I'm going to go ahead and grab myself a line tool. All right, and I'm going to take this line tool, and I'm going to just trace out this entire outside square. And then we're going to see if my computer is going to like this. All right, so I'm going to try to have these separate geometries here and then see if it'll let me trim off some of these. Okay, which looks like it will. And so I should have closed geometry here, it looks like. All right, so you see these right here are not green. So that might tell this computer that these are not actually closed geometry here. So I can go ahead and I can try to make sure I create a coincidence constraint. It says it already exists. So just for giggles, let's go ahead and finish this and see if it's going to let me do this all in one shot. Hello Kitty, success. Arm, success. Look at that. That's what I want right there. I'm going to click OK. I'm going to come in here, grab this sketch, grab this image. All right, that's what I want. Good. And I'm going to share this sketch. Okay. And so now you can actually see that I can share what I'm doing here. Another way to do this is to take this. And you see, like on the back, you can actually see this as well. So I don't necessarily have to work on where I blew that out at. I can actually come over here and share that sketch and create a new 2D sketch here. It's going to be mirrored. Okay. I'm going to click off of everything. Let's see if I can take this. Did a construction line. All right. So what I'm going to try to do is trace this bow out. All right. Let's see if it's going to let me trace this bow out. And again, I'm going to do a very, very simplistic job here, just for the sake of time. And let's just say I want to do whiskers that stick out just a little bit. And you can see I'm just kind of adjusting this to my liking and making sure that I have closed geometry here. All right. And obviously, make your own little bow shape and your own little whiskers without even looking at the image itself. But again, that's not really what I'm after right now. Make sure that's closed. It looks like it. And then I can take all this stuff. Is it going to let me trim these? Well, let's see what this does. Let's see if I finish this sketch and see if it'll let me extrude these little pieces here. And it does. Okay, I can cancel that. So what I was just checking is sometimes when you get so many lines, it gets really mad at you, it being Inventor. So it's going to let me do this so far. So since it's letting me do this, I'm going to go ahead and make some other quick whiskers. And again, take your time with these. You can actually use a slot for this, and you can see how these are actually have little round edges. So if I were to do this for a final, I would probably use slot, so I don't have to come in later and fillet all these edges. All right, the slot tool's underneath this rectangle, and then you have a slot here. And then the way you have a slot is it's going to ask you for kind of like a starting point here. And so you're going to have to try to find the center. So let's say if I wanted to center this whisker here, and I want this whisker to look like this, and then there we go. And there's a whisker, just so you know. So you can use a slot as well. So you can do that. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my spline again. And again, the biggest thing is going to be is to make sure that I have something, some semblance of. And again, since this is just for my tutorial, I'm not going to go ahead and print this one because I don't want to be here forever tracing in front of you guys or gals or. And again, you can see the closer these lines are, the sharper corner you can get here. And you can kind of even out some of those wobbles. It's a little wobbly, but that thing gets in your way sometimes. It's quite annoying. And if anybody knows how to get rid of that little side menu here that keeps popping up in my way, let me know. Because I would sure love to get rid of that thing. So that's quite annoying. And you can see I'm going to kind of go through here and you can see I'm kind of making it angry right now because I'm making too big of jumps. I'm trying to rush. Don't rush when you do it. You're not in time constraints. Not necessarily that I'm in time constraints. I'm more in constraints for your own sanity here. All right, so there's a bow-ish, there's a bow-ish in some things here. So I'm going to go ahead and finish the sketch. I'm going to extrude. All right, a bow, a whisker, a whisker, a whisker, a whisker, a whisker, a whisker. And I'm going to extrude this maybe 20 thousandths. Yeah, maybe 20 thousandths work. And click OK. So there we go. So now I have this. And I'm going to turn the visibility off that sketch. And you can see now I have a little spinner with these little pieces on there. Now, I did these about 20 thousandths thick. You could make them a little thicker if you like. You could also go ahead and let's place a new 2D sketch here. And I'm going to project that geometry and that geometry and that geometry. Click Finish the Sketch. And you can actually take these profiles. All right, and if you have closed, no, it didn't close on me. Let's go back to this. Huh. It is here. If you go ahead and, you know what we can do? We can just grab a line. And it doesn't really matter. As long as we have closed geometry there. Closed geometry there. And you can do 2, this face. All right, so 2, and select that back face. And now I have the thickness of that bow all the way around, so they're not really hanging off. So you can see now I have that bow. And again, you could do the same thing for those whiskers, and it doesn't really matter, but now you can see the bow on this side, and you just have that, and just the whiskers are sticking off. And you could see that the whiskers as a slot look a lot better than just random whiskers as rectangles, just so you can see the difference there. And then if I wanted to do something fancy here, I could actually take a circle on this one, put a new sketch here. Just grab myself a circle. Or something like this. And then again, you can see how just by adding in details, I could cut that in and just try to make it more look like a bow, right? And you could add in all your detail work by just adding and subtracting material. And then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put in a new sketch here. And then I'm going to take this, and let's just say I'm going to be using skateboard bearings on this. So I'm going to take this and say 22 millimeters. right? And so if I use the skateboard bearing, you'd see how large that would be, okay? So if you want to use a skateboard bearing for your counterweight, your Hello Kitty face is going to be a lot bigger. So instead, what I would use in this, if I wanted it to look good, if I wanted to put eyes and stuff like that in here. So let's say you want to add in eyes, like circles for eyes and stuff. So you can go ahead and add in circles for eyes, a little nose, a little mouth, add in your detail, and then just come to the back. All right. Oops. Let me finish the sketch. I'm going to delete it. I'm going to put a sketch on the back here. New sketch. All right. And what I want to do is I'm going to put a circle. How big was that 22 millimeters? Okay. You do go like this is 22 millimeters. Like this. You can finish the sketch. And I'm going to extrude. I'm going to cut. Let's go 4 millimeters. Right? And you can actually extrude this almost all the way through. All right. And then add more material on this back. And then just like with that Batman one that I was talking about, add extra material to your cap. All right. But I really don't want to do that. So what I'm going to do is Control Z. All right. So that's one option you have. The other option you have is I can come around here, place my new sketch, and use a smaller nut. All right. So that's what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a nut on this one. So again, I'm going to go in here to my polygon. A 6-sided polygon is a nut. All right, and I'm going to take this and something about that big. Make sure I have enough room here, and you can kind of just center this however you feel necessary. And sometimes you can see like I have so many things on here that it'll constrain a little higher than I wanted. And so there's a nut. All right, so right now we have this. So 0.45 is what I think I measured the smaller nuts I have on my desk, or 466, something like that, somewhere in that range. So you can see about that range. It depends whatever size nut you have. And then I'm going to take this, extrude, cut, all ready to go. Then I'm also going to go ahead and place a new sketch. And we're almost done. We're almost done, I promise. 22 millimeters. Extrude, cut, all. There's your hole. And now it's just fillet time. So I can go ahead and I can fillet, fillet, fillet. And you're going to select a fillet that you think looks good here. All right. And fillet. All right. So you can go ahead and fill it here. But I don't actually, you know what? I've decided I don't want to fill it there. And I'm going to show you why in a second. I'm going to start off by filleting first this, so that way we don't have a weak point in here. So about 1/8 of an inch. That looks pretty good, actually. I'm going to strengthen these first. Okay, with those fillets, so now it's nice and smooth. And then once I get that looking good, now I can go ahead and fillet these. And what I'm going to look for is I'm going to look for these fillets here. And these fillets are going to change. It's not going to be the final because I'm still have to revolve this. All right. And then you could take these, and I can actually, if I'm not sure what I want this to look like, I can take this and I can push this in to something that looks good. All right. So I can go something like 22 millimeters plus 0.1. Right. And you can kind of see what that would give me. It's a little too thin. So let's go with And you kind of just, I'm going to kind of eyeball this into something that looks pretty good. So what is that, 0.33? There we go. And now I can go ahead and revolve. All right. Now this revolve, not revolve. I said revolve. I mean circular pattern. It's been a long tutorial here. And features. I'm going to select all these features. I need a rotational axis of the inside. And you can see I can get as many little kitties as I want. All right. So there is 6. All right. Here is 4, 3. All right. Here's 5. I'll go with a 5-sided one. Why not? I'll click OK. And if my computer doesn't crash, we have a 5-sided Hello Kitty spinner, and it's perfectly balanced. And again, that size of nut is just what I had sitting on my desk that I measured, and your mileage will vary on this. All right. And there's the back, and then there is the front. All right, good. So that is all. So again, I hope this was helpful to you all, and I'll see you all next time.